Hello, welcome back to my March of the Machine set review, limited, all kinds of keywords. And today we're talking about blue. This is the second installment of these. We're talking about blue, so for those of you who have not been here before, oh no, I've gone too far. I've messed everything up. It's all wrong. It's all wrong. And so we'll turn off my camera real quick to go over my card tiers. This is how I evaluate the cards. I'm evaluating them specifically in draft, really, is the primary game mode that I like to play and am the best at and enjoy the most. And so yeah, there's 5 tiers. Tier 1 is the best, Tier 5 is the worst. These are what the tiers mean. If you don't know what they mean, if you haven't been here before, welcome to being here, to this journey of viewing cards with me. And let's begin that journey, shall we? And this is really going to be an absolutely banging start. Let me turn my camera back on. Because I don't know what to do with this card. Arctic Refusal, 4 blue for an instant with Convoke. You can choose one of both, counter target spell, or draw 2 cards and then discard a card. So you will always be choosing the second mode. I don't know, man. Good luck trying to figure out if this card's playable or not. I've decided to put it in the most cop-out rating of all time, right in the middle, Tier 3, because it certainly has an upside that is great. You basically get a very cheap counter spell. The downside, of course, is that it sometimes costs 6 mana. You really want to have creatures that can help convoke this. There are certainly ones that do that in the set. They can help you with that. But I don't know. This is one you're just going to have to play the format and figure it out. Looking at this card makes me think, okay, it's completely unplayable. But then I'm like, I haven't actually played with Convoke. Don't know how Convoke feels. People have told me that it feels pretty good. It's a good mechanic. Usually it's decent. Sometimes they way overcost the cards and they're just unplayable. So I don't know. We'll see how it bears out in this case. Next, Simulated Essence. 1 blue for an instant. Counter target creature or battle spell its controller plays 4. If they do, you incubate 2. This is not worth it. Allowing your opponent to pay 4 for a spell and then you oh, I got back a battle, but no, that's not. At that point in the game, a 2/2 is just not it. It doesn't counter every spell. It's just not. We've seen this before. It's not going to be good. I'm sorry to tell you. It's just not going to be there. Or maybe it will just get baited again. With these counter spells, every other one is good. So you think that they're going to be bad because one of them it was good. It was really good in New Capenna, and then in what's it called? Brothers War. It's it's really bad now. So obviously those were different cards. One of them countered spells and one of them countered creature spells, and that's the big difference. That's the key. If it counters a spell, it's good. If it counters a creature spell forever, it's good, like an Essence Scatter. But if it counters a creature spell situationally, it is not good. That's kind of the dichotomy of how these cards tend to play out. Next, Astral Wingspan. 4 blue for an enchantment with Convoke. You can enchant a creature. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. And the enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has flying. So this is a similar card to the one in Brothers War that gave a creature +1/+0 and flying, and whenever it attacked, you drew a card. This is a better card than that, in my opinion. At least from looking at it, and having not played with it. You can have it be cheaper, first of all, with Convoke. That's nice. It's always good. You get the card right away, which is also relevant and good. You get a bigger stats boost, which is also relevant. So I just think this card is much better than that card, and that card was ended up being overrated. I think people mostly ended up seeing that card was oh, it's really insane, and then just kind of ended up not being that good. So I think this card is going to be better than that card. Maybe live up to its dreams, Next, Change the Equation. 1 blue for an instant. Choose one, you counter target spell mana value 2 or less, or you counter target red or green spell with mana value 6 or less. It's like a sideboard card. You will know when you want it, basically. If you're playing, it's a deck with a lot of red and green cards. I don't know if it needs to be specifically red-green or not. That's somebody has to be better than, that's above my pay grade, but you side this in sometimes. That's kind of it. It's not a limited card. Next, Chrome Host Seed Shark. 2 and a blue for 2/4 flying shark. When you cast it on a creature spell, you incubate X, where X is that spell's mana value. So I put this in tier 1, obviously, because it's a really good card. It's a 3 mana 2/4 flyer. It is a shark that does not have flash, which is upsetting. It makes me very sad. I'm a very sad person now because the shark doesn't have flash, but that's okay. It's still a really good card. All sharks are good forever. It's just true. And yeah, this one's good. I don't know. Just makes a bunch of dudes. So I don't really have anything else to say. Like making a bunch of incubator tokens that are huge and are equal to the spell's mana value is very strong. Next, complete the circuit. 5 and a blue with Convoke, instant. You may cast sorcery spells this turn as though they had flash. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell twice. You may choose new targets for the copies. Copying spells is just not good in limited because it doesn't come up. Like, you just kind of... What matters more in limited is casting spells when you want to, more than just copying them. And, like, the Convoke isn't even that good because to make this spell decent, it needs to be 2 mana. Maybe 3 mana. Like so if you have to Convoke it 3 times, basically, for it to be decent, and then you have to spend another, 3 mana, and then you have to spend another 3 or 4 mana to kind of get a decent spell. And it's just too much work. It just ain't it. I'm sorry to tell you. Next, Corruption of Toeshi. 4 and a blue for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you incubate 4. Whenever a permanent you control transforms, or a permanent enters the battlefield under your control transformed, you may draw a card. Do this only once each turn. Weird way that this text is worded. Instead of this triggers only once each turn, it's do this only once each turn. Maybe it's like a card spacing issue? I don't know. Aesthetics. Ladies and gentlemen, aesthetics. Yeah, this card's like not that great. It's kind of like when you think about it, right? It's like, okay, well, I got this 7 mana 4/4 that I can draw a card. Now it costs 5 and then 2, so it's really sort of like a 6.5 mana 4/4 that draws a card. And it does have haste, but the turn that you cast it basically does nothing, and that's never good. You never want to be doing nothing for a turn in limited, so I don't know. I've come down pretty low on this, but maybe I'll be surprised. Next, Disturbing Conversion. 1 and a blue for a enchantment with flash. It enchants a creature. When it enters the battlefield, each player mills 2 cards. Enchanted creature gets -X/-0, where each X is the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. So there's like this weird mill sub-theme in this set, with like especially blue and black, where blue-black is like a mill deck, kind of, but I don't know. I don't really understand why it's there. There's nothing like thematic about it. It just kind of exists. So I don't know. Maybe it'll actually be okay, but I just don't really think that any of the mill cards are going to be good. This one's kind of fine. We just saw this in the Shadows Remastered set for 1 mana, except it doesn't mill when it enters the battlefield. And that card was like decent. That card's decent. It's not like anything fantastic, but in a slower deck that just wants to survive, it does that. And this is probably a worse version of that card because double the amount of mana is a lot more. And milling 2 probably doesn't get there, but we'll see. Maybe this card's just really unplayably bad. It's possible. That's true. Next, Ephara's Dispersal. 2 and a blue for an instant. It costs 2 less to cast if it targets an attacking creature. You return a target creature to its owner's hand and you surveil 2. So obviously this is fantastic if you ever target an attacking creature. It is basically, my grade for it is exclusively based on how good Bury-in Books was in Strixhaven. And Bury-in Books was very good. So I expect this card to be very good. Yes, in the back. But this card doesn't go to the top. I'm aware that it goes to the hand. I'm aware, yes, I know, I'm aware that that's the case. Surveil 2 is very strong. If you have to bounce something that isn't attacking, it is not the end of the world. So you are probably going to be bouncing something that's attacking more often than not, but I just don't, things are going to attack you during the course of a game of limited Magic, so you're definitely going to want to cast this spell. So that's my view on it. Next, Expedition Lookout. 1 and a blue for a 2/3 Merfolk Rogue Defender. Sometimes I read the types and sometimes I don't. It's a roulette with me, you know. As long as an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, it can attack as though it's a defender and it can't be blocked. I don't know, man. Like, whatever. Is this like, it's a decent defender on 2. Like if you can attack with it, fantastic. But your opponent now somehow has 8 or more cards. Like, there's this weird, again, this is weird something that I just don't think is going to get there. But like, maybe it gets there because you have this idea where you're like, well, I'd like to transform these battles. Like, my goal of this game is to transform battles so I get more advantage, so I can then win the game. Right? That's sort of like what the idea of the set is, or at least that's what it seems like it's intending to do. But it, I don't know. I have doubts about it getting there. And like, your opponent's got to get 8 cards in their graveyard. 8's a lot of cards. And obviously, this transforms into something real when your opponent has 8 cards. So if the mill stuff is actually good, this card's going to be good. I just don't think the mill stuff's going to get there. So I think this card's going to be bad. Maybe it'll be solid. Maybe I should just put it in tier 3 instead of tier 4 and just say, it's average. It's average. But is it average? Like, it's a 2/3 defender, and they're not usually you get a 3/3 defender for 2, and I know it can attack. Just, I don't know. I'm out, boss. Next, Eyes of Cataxius. 2 and a blue for a sorcery with Incubate 3, and you draw a card. So the fact that this is a sorcery is really bad. If this were an instant, I would like it quite a bit more. I don't know, man. Like, this is one of those cards that you kind of look at it and you're like, well, does Wizards think Incubate is just this busted mechanic that's completely uncontrollable and like it's so worth it that this is a good card? And I'm kind of like, eh. And again, it's kind of like a 4.5 mana 3/3 that draws a card. And there's a battlefield, and you think about it like that, you're like, it's like probably, it's like, is that okay? But like, I'm taking turn 3 off. Taking off turn 3 is not that good, and then maybe I want to play a 4-drop on 4 instead, but like, it's just my mind, like, I have these concerns. That may or may not be valid. But for now, we're starting out with concerns, and that's okay. Next, Fairy Mastermind. 1 and a blue for 2/1 Flash Flyer. When your opponent draws a second card each turn, you draw a card. And you can pay 3 and a blue to make each player draw a card, so you get to draw 2 cards when each player does a card, so that's, whatever. It's just a really solid card. Nothing especially... It's not a especially great limited card. It's a much better constructed card, obviously, because you can flash it in. Your opponents are probably drawing more cards. There's some certain matchups where it's very good. But in limited, it's fine. 2 mana, 2/1 Flash Flyer is just good. It doesn't really ambush anything like the 1/2 did in Brothers War, but it's still a good card. Still a very solid card. Next, Furtive Analyst. 2 and a blue for a 1/4 Violence. And you can pay 2 and tap it to loot. Which I just, like, this card is just garbage. I don't really... I just don't know. It's just not it, Chief. I'm sorry to tell you, this is not it. If you think that this is it, I hate to inform you that this is not it. This is, in fact, is not it. We've made it approximately exactly 1 limited set without blue getting a completely useless 1/4. They always throw 1 absolutely useless 1/4 into every limited set except for the last one where the 1/4 was actually good. It was really good. It was Gitaxian Raptor. So, yep. Next, another mediocre blue card. Halo Charge Scob. 4 and a blue for a 4/4. Where it enters the battlefield, each player mills 2 cards, then you may put an instant sorcery battle card from your graveyard on top of your library and not into your hand because blue doesn't get to have anything nice. I would have just said one of the cards milled into your hand and just like, I don't know. It's just, I just don't, why? Why isn't this 4 mana? Why is it a 4/4? All kinds of questions that could be asked about this card, and I'll never get answers to any of those questions. Next, a Meeting of the Minds. 3 and a blue for an instant with Convoke, and you get to draw 2 cards. Oh boy. Free draw spell. Anybody free draw spell? So this is where you start to wonder, like, is that 2 mana 2/3 defender like actually good because it's like gonna convoke all my spells? And I'm like, maybe it kind of is. Maybe it's actually kind of good, and I should put it in tier 3 instead of tier 2. I don't know. I just can't imagine myself drafting it that high. It's kind of the problem. But man, you know, I don't know. I know nothing really. That's the joke about today's stuff. Is I just don't know anything. But if you're never attacking, it certainly is free. It is very free if you're not attacking. But you do want to attack. So I don't know. Divination's not very good, but I have faith in this to be better than Divination, even though it costs more mana. If you just gave Divination Convoke, would it be that busted? Definitely not, but it is an instant, and that helps too. So next, more mediocrity. 1 in a blue for an instant, Moment of Truth. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of those cards into your hand and one into your graveyard and one in the bottom. Anticipate is not good. Putting 1 card into your graveyard does not make it good. It being an instant makes it slightly better, but does not make it good. So, whatever, man. Like, you could have just reprinted Curate for the 8th set in a row, and that would have been better than this, I think, to be honest with you. Next, Negate. I actually think Negate's going to be kind of good in this set. You counter a non-creature spell, that's Negate. Everybody knows about Negate. Everyone is aware of it negating things, and its negatory powers. Yep. There are a lot of card types. Battles are a thing that exists, so Negate is pretty good in this set, I think. I think it's going to be main deckable, I do. Negate tends to be main deckable in the sets where they print it. Like, it was main deckable in Dominaria United. People sort of figured that out. Everyone was kind of like, it's not going to be main deckable. And then it ended up being like a main deckable card. It was kind of like a tier 4 card, like in my current tiers. I think this actually is probably going to be better than a tier 4 card in this set. It's going to be more towards the Strixhaven side of things than the DMU side of things. Next, Oculus Whelp. 3 in a blue for a 3/2 flying. As long as you control a transform permanent, when it dies, you draw a card. And that could just say draw a card when it dies on it, and it would be fine, but nothing busted. Now, I understand that it's single blue instead of double blue. So I'm aware. But, yeah, they really put the hammer on blue this set again. They just can't give it a break. They're like, blue bad and 1? No, let's just make it, like, bad again. Okay, guys, if we have to. Maybe like, I'll just be wrong. Because last time I was like, blue's going to be good at 1. Nope, that was wrong. The format was just insanely fast. This time I'm like, blue's going to be bad. Haha, I caught on to you this time. And it's just going to be good. That's how it's going to be. I'm just going to be bad at evaluating. Next, Omen Hawker. Single blue mana for a 1/1. You can tap to add colorless and a blue mana. You spend this mana only to activate abilities. So there are many, many abilities in this set to be activated. There's many transform cards. And this will help you transform them, and that makes them very cheap. And ramping 2 mana, like getting 2 mana out of this, that's a lot. Like, that is a lot of mana that you're getting that you would not otherwise get. And it makes your cards bigger, basically. And the thing about transform cards that I think people may or may not realize is they are a form of card advantage, because essentially you're getting a bigger card than your original card. Would have been for the amount of mana you paid. So you kind of got that card, and then at a later stage of the game, you're like, well, this other old card isn't relevant anymore, so let me make it bigger. And that's kind of a form of card advantage as well. So be advised, this thing is kind of giving you card advantage in some ways. Next, Oracle of Tragedy. 1 in a blue for a 1/3. When it enters the battlefield or dies, choose 1, draw, you loot, or you can shuffle up to 4 tarot cards with mana value 3 or greater from your graveyard into your library. I don't know, man. Like, whatever. Like, no. This is just another no. I just don't. What are we doing here? Like, why are we printing this card? I don't understand why we're printing it. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I just put this in tier 5. It's a tier 5 card. Next, Preening Champion. 2 in a blue for a 2/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 blue and red elemental creature token. I approve of this card. This is maybe Blue's best common. It's really great. It's great with Convoke, because it makes 2 dudes. It makes a flyer, which is great, because flying is good and limited, as we know. It's 3 mana. It's just fantastic. It's also a knight, believe it or not. This card does everything. This card is, I think this card has to be Blue's best common, right? Because it just does all the stuff Blue wants to do. So, next, Protocol Knight. 3 and a blue for a 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature your opponent controls. Put a stun counter on that creature if you control another knight. So this is a knight's tribal card. I think Knight's Tribal is likely to be Blue's best deck. Yeah. That's it. They keep printing blue-white tempo card decks. Someday they will do something that's not blue-white tempo, but no, actually they won't. When was the last time they printed a blue-white deck that wasn't tempo? Blue-white tempo in 1 with what was blue-white in 1? No, blue-white artifacts was a tempo deck. It wasn't. It was an artifacts tempo whatever deck, and then Bro was a blue-white soldiers tempo deck, and DMU it was. The hell was it in DMU? It was, my brain doesn't work anymore. It's gone. It's left me. It doesn't exist. It's fried. Alright, anyways. Cyber Cryptomancer. 1 and a blue for a flash flyer with backup 1 and hexproof. So it gives something hexproof when it enters the battlefield, which is very strong. It's like a combat trick on a creature that has backup, and it's an 0-1. There's a bunch of 0-1s, and this is another 0-1. So many of them. I don't know. Weird. I just think it's probably good. It's a combat trick. It's just this rectangle theory. This is the Ethan Sachs rectangle theory moment of the review where we talk about the number of rectangles that you're getting, and this is giving you a rectangle while also protecting your guy. It's not that hard to hold up 2 mana. I don't know. Maybe this card's maybe I'm a little too high on this card. It is. I just. Backup is good, man. Like, you can just use this as a combat trick, and like the counter matters a lot too. Just into it. C double. 2 blue for an instant. The spell can't be copied. You choose one. The opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. You may choose both. You copy target spell, and you may choose each card to copy, and you create a token as a copy of target creature. So you can't copy this because it would just go infinite, which would be pretty cool. But you can't just like print Splinter Twin combo on 1 card. That would be that'd probably be a bit much. But it is still a really good card because the floor on the card is just instant speed clone for 4 mana, which is really strong. But a clone is not the best. Now instant speed clone is pretty good, but clones are just not what they used to be. But getting that second copying a spell is good, very good. Next, Stasis Field. 1 and a blue for an enchantment. It makes the enchanted creature have power and toughness 0/2, and it loses all its other abilities. This card is bad. It will not be good. It has never been good. It is never going to be good. It's not good. It's not a good card. Next, Temporal Cleansing. 3 and a blue for a sorcery with Convoke. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it into their library second from the top or on the bottom. So if this was an instant, it would just be like nuts. It would probably just be like insane. Because imagine you like just have 4 creatures on the battlefield, and your opponent's like, all right, I'll play like this creature, and then it'll be able to block all these like small creatures. But then you just tap out and just it's just annihilation. You just lose, like it's just absolute. Whatever. I'm kind of enraptured by the idea of free spells with Convoke when the reality is that that's just never going to happen. But I can just believe in my heart. You know what I mean? That's just where we're at right now. It's all about feeling. Still a fine removal spell. Next, Thunderhead Squadron. A 5 and a blue for a 3/4 flying with Convoke. It's a knight as well. For those of you Knight Tribal enjoyers. So I was sort of thinking, I was like, okay, what's the math on this card? I'm happy with it if it's 4 mana, so I need to basically be paying 2 mana with Convoke. And now when I'm paying 2 mana with Convoke, those creatures had to not already want to attack, so I need to have these like 0-1s in my deck so that I can Convoke stuff. So maybe that's what the 0-1s are kind of for, and they're like, can help you do that. And okay, alright. So if you have a lot of Convoke cards, you maybe want those like 1 mana 0-1s with backup. Those are like real, like, I don't know. So, whatever. Anyways, I think this is a pretty average card. I think it's fine. Sure, that's kind of my take on it. Next, Tidal Terror. 4 blue for a 5/6. When it attacks, you may tap 2 other untapped creatures you control. If you do, it can't be blocked this turn. You can island cycle it for 2, which means you go ahead and island when you cycle it. I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of this one. It has cycling and is a big creature, which is good. Those cards tend to be good, but like, I don't know. Like, Like either side, like the thing is that cycling is not going to be good in this set. Like you don't have time. Like when are you going to have time to cycle this? Not on turn 2 when your opponent is playing a creature and is going to attack a battle next. Like if you take turn 2 off in this format, what's going to happen is your opponent's going to just like be able to attack a battle. And if they can transform a battle without like it costing them the game, you just lose. Like you just lose. You are too far behind and can't do anything. Like it's just I think the format's going to be really fast. Now it may also end up being slow because of the way battles play out, but I don't know. I think this is just too slow for the format. Next, Transcendent Message X and then quad blue for an instant with Convoke, and you draw X cards. So you can draw 1,000,000 cards if you want at an instant speed, which is great, and with Convoke. So it's cool. I'm sure this will see some play in some constructed format. I don't know which one, but I'm sure somebody will try it because it just has the ability to do. It's like as bad Sphinx's Revelation with Convoke. So yeah. It's not good in limited. Next, Wicked Slumber. 3 and a blue for an instant with Convoke. You tap up to 2 target creatures, put a stun counter on either of them, and then you put another stun counter on either of them. So you can put 2 stun counters on one, you can put 1 on each, you can do that. Those are the 2 options. That's it. There's only one set of options there really. We saw this card similar to this with in like when they first introduced stun counters, and it was kind of mid. It was like not great. But the fact that this has Convoke is nice. I think this goes well in Blue's best deck, which is blue-white. So, oh. Next, Xenic Strobe Knight. Xerix, no, you said it wrong. It's true, I did. 2 and a blue for a 2/2 with Flying and Vigilance. It's a human knight. You can tap it and create a 2/2 white and a blue knight with Vigilance. And you activate this only if you cast 2 or more spells this turn. This is insane. This is a busted card. This card is ridiculous. Like, I don't know. You play it on 3 and your opponent's like, well, you have to remove it. Or if they double spell on 4, which is probably, it's not like the hardest thing on Planet Earth to imagine doing, you just get a 2/2, and this has Vigilance, so you can even attack with it and still make a 2/2, and it flies, so it always gets to attack. It's just, this card does everything. It's just a 1-man. It's just insane. It's just a truck. It makes like cantripy spells really good if you have those, of which there aren't very many of them, but and there aren't really very good ones. But I think the card's just fantastic. Next, Zephyr Singer, 2 blue for a 3/4 flying Vigilance with Convoke. When it enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on each creature that convoked it, which basically means give flying to any creature that convoked this card, which is really strong. You can even just go, okay, I'm going to play 2-drop into this, and now I have a 3/4 flyer and a 2/2 2-drop that's also flying. So I'm just doing it. I've completely done something insane. So it seems to me like Convoke, I think the way I'm reading it, it looks like you can tap creatures that have Summoning Sickness. And if that's correct, this card is like really insane. If it, again, I could just be wrong. I'm just stupid sometimes. So either way, the card's great. Next, Zalfrin Shapecraft. There we go. Had a tough time with that one. 1 and a blue for an instant. Target creature has base power and toughness 4/3 until end of turn, and you draw a card. Now, with the amount of +1/+1 counters around, it's probably not going to be its actual toughness. But yeah, this is a card that I think stands out to me just because this is a good way to like flip a battle. You say, okay, well, I'm going to flip this battle, and then I'm going to draw a card, and I'm like not down a card. And it's really good with the guy that makes night tokens as well and stuff. There's just like lots of good stuff. This card just does a lot of stuff that I like for 2 mana, which is fantastic. Next, the first battle in blue, Invasion of Arcavios. 3 blue for a 7 toughness battle, or 7 whatever battle. When it enters the battlefield, search your library, graveyard outside of the game for an instant or sorcery card you own, reveal it, put it in your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle. So it's a tutor for an instant or sorcery. And it costs 5 mana, so that's not good in limited, really. And then when you flip it, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, you may copy that spell. So if you somehow manage to flip this, it's great. No, it's not going to ever happen, though, because you're going to be so far behind because you spent 5 mana tutoring for an instant or sorcery that you're never going to be able to... unless you have a combo that's like remove all the counters from the target battle, like any target. And I think there is a card that does that. And then you do that, and then... oh my god. And then you have more instances. I should put this in tier 5. This is just not happening. This is just not it. Invasion of Kamigawa, 3 and a blue for a 4 toughness battle. When Invasion of Kamigawa enters the battlefield, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls, and then put a stun counter on it. So it basically just removes something for 2 turns, which means you're going to be able to attack this battle easier. And because it's 4 mana, it fits in a nice spot on the curve, which is like you go 2-drop, 3-drop, and then this, and then you can attack it very easily, and it's like probably and you get to transform it. If you transform it, it's really strong because it's a 2/3 flyer that deals whenever it does combat trade damage to a player or battle, you draw a card, which is just really good. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is just a really strong card. Next, Invasion of Segovia. 2 and a blue for a 4 toughness battle. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 blue Kraken creatures with trample. So good for convoke, good for attacking, and it transforms into Catus, Sea Tyrant of Segovia. And non-creature spells you cast have convoke at the beginning of your end step, untap up to 4 target creatures. So it can like convoke twice, which is pretty sick. And yeah, the backside of this is really strong, and it's not too hard to flip because it's only got 4 toughness, and it makes 2 guys. So you need this plus the 2-drop thing that like turns your guy into a 4/3 that just like kind of gets there by itself. Next, Invasion of Vern, actually. It's probably just Vern. 3 and a blue for a 4 toughness battle. Siege. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards and then discard a card. And then it transforms into Overloaded Mage Ring. And you can pay 1 and sacrifice it. And you copy target spell you control. So... maybe, I don't know. I don't think this is good. So it's just you're just doing nothing for too long of the game, right? Like you're just sitting there being like, well, I hope I get paid off. Hope I can somehow flip this battle that I just spent 4 mana doing nothing on. It's just like, no. Next, Captive Weird. Single blue mana for a 1/3 defender. You can pay 3 and a Phyrexian red mana to transform it. Only as a sorcery, and when it transforms, you exile the top card of your library until your next turn you may play that card. So this just gives you some built-in card advantage. It blocks well early, it convokes stuff. I love this card. I like this card a lot. There's a lot of value here, a lot of value to be had. So, next, Jin Gitaxias. 3 blue for a 5/5 with Word 2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, draw a card. And you pay 3 and a blue and exile and return to the battlefield gentleman that's under control. You activate only as a sorcery, only if you have 7 or more cards in hand. Oh, I didn't read that part. This is a tier 2 card. I've just thought that you could just do it. Whatever. It still is like fine. Honestly, I stand by. You know what? I stand by it because 5/5 Word 2 for 5 in blue is good. It's not that good. It's like fine. It's a tier 2 card. This is not tier 1. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me from the past. I was lying when I said that. The backside basically draws you a bunch of cards, and then you return all non-Phyrexian creatures, and then this transforms back, and then whatever. So yeah, you're literally never transforming this. But if you did, it would be fine. So this is a tier 2 card. Don't listen to the screen. The screen is lying to you. Next, Order of the Mirror. 1 and a blue for 2/1. You can pay 3 and a white to transform it, and when it becomes a 3/3, 3 and a white for Phyrexian, sorry. When it becomes blocked by a creature, that creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn, so it's really hard to block, which is nice. It's also a knight in blue-white, so I think you're going to play this in blue-white, because it is a 2-drop and also kind of a 3-drop. I don't know, like, I like it. I kind of like it. I don't really like it in not knights, really, because you really need the tribal, but I kind of like it. I kind of think it's like, I don't know. I've basically just been like dreaming of blue having a 2-drop as good as Baithook Angler and Midnight Hunt, but they just haven't printed one that's that good since. So, at common, anyways. Someday, maybe. Next, Rona, Herald of Invasion. 1 and a blue for a 1/3 when you cast a legendary spell, untap it, so blank. You can loot with it, tap to draw a card and then discard a card, and you can pay 5 and a black for Rexian to transform it. You activate only as a sorcery. It transforms into Rona Tolarian Obliterator, which is a 5/5 with trample, and when a source deals combat damage to it, that source's controller exiles a card from their hand at random. If it's a land card, you can put it into the battlefield under your control, otherwise you may cast it with a pain's mana cost. So basically, it just is really strong. It finds you. It helps fix all your draws. Like it just loots early and blocks early. You can convoke as well. Like I don't know, sure. And when it transforms, it basically is just really strong. It just really, really gets going there, you know. And I believe this is the last card. Yes, it is. Sneak previews of my stuff. Sneak behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, last card is Skyclave Aerialist. 1 in a blue for a 2/1 flyer. And you pay 4 and a green for Rexian to transform it. It transforms into a 2/4 flyer. When it transforms, you look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you can put it onto the battlefield. If you don't put that card into the battlefield, put it into your hand. So basically, it draws you a card. Transform it, and if the card's a land, you get it on the battlefield. So it's solid. I don't think you really even need to transform it. It's just a good 2-mana, 2/1 flyer, and those are fine. It's upside in the late game, and you don't, like, you know, no one's ever forcing you to transform anything, but yeah, it's just a solid card. And that wraps up blue. What are my thoughts on blue? I don't know. I have some concerns. I think it's probably going to be more fine than it was in 1, but we'll see. Thanks for sticking around. If you stuck around. If you didn't stick around, you're not hearing this, and so therefore I can insult you, but I won't because I'm a reasonable person that understands that people have other things they want to do with their lives, you know? But if you did stick around, then that means you probably like gained some knowledge from this, which would be pretty cool if that were true. And if you enjoyed it, I'll see you again next time for the next one of these in the saga of March of the Machine or whatever. See you.